it's your boy Ancient Albatross here again with the Cypher Unlimited crew. -1, unfortunately. Dean is spending some family time tonight, away from the stream, and when I just having family time. Sorry, I worded that horribly. But either way, we have the ever lovely Spiggs 18 or Anthony, and a special guest. But yeah, I'll let Anthony talk on that. But before I pass it over to Anthony, just as a quick reminder, be sure to follow us here on Twitch, subscribe to us over on YouTube, and check us out on the Anywhere Door, which is Monte Games' streaming platform that are trying to get up off the ground. And it's a great collection of people who make MCG content. So if you are looking for more MCG content, that is the place to be. But without further ado, Anthony, what are we doing here tonight?
Oh, we got Sean K. Reynolds here. And we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. Cyphercon, the Backerkit. And before we even get started, we just want to congratulate our very own Alpha Dean. He has a brand new member of his family. His granddaughter was born yesterday, so we wishing him all the best. And we decided he should be doing granddaddy duties. So welcoming a new one into the family is always a joyous and wonderful thing. So congrats, brother. We love you, and spend a lot. Give the baby kisses from us. But we got Sean K. Reynolds here. And Sean just passed Charles again, so he's now the sole CU master of appearances. So he gets the green jacket in the mail. Sean, welcome back to the CU.
Thanks, guys. Got to be here.
Yeah, and this is also because we spoke offline. We don't have this isn't an official interview. This is just Sean BSing with the CU guys. And we have a lot of great topics to discuss. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is, guys, Cypher's still currently on Backerkit, and there's only 22 hours left. They already have 4,528 backers. They almost near $830,000. Charles mentioned that they're trying to get to 1 million, and they're trying to get to 5,000 backers or more, and I think we could do it. Charles just posted on the CU that they had 800 backers in the last 24 hours in the last Backerkit, so we're hoping for that. Go check it out. They've already gotten 15 stretch goals. We're aiming for the 16th, and they can't do it without your support, so we want to rally the troops. You've already got, if you back at the everything level, we did the math. It's already 4 times what you would pay in USD. You're getting 4 times in value already, and that's not even counting the future stretch goals that may happen. So go check it out. We really, really want you to go check it out. But we're gonna dive deep into Cypher because Sean had his raffle games at Cyphercon, and he actually got to play test the new Cypher rules. So let's talk a little bit about Cyphercon first, and then we'll get back to Cypher. So Sean, how was your Cyphercon experience?
It was really good. I ran a game on Friday and another game on Sunday, a different set of players for each. 5 people in each one. It was the same adventure that I had only run twice before, once for MCG at our summit and once for Monte's birthday a couple years before. So no one had ever, outside of MCG, had seen this. And I had 6 PC pre-mades available using the new Cypher rules. And since I had 5 players, I had a different assortment of characters in action for each one. And it was really cool to see the players kind of discovering the new stuff in real time and seeing how stuff works differently. It was pretty cool.
It was Tolus, right?
Technically, yeah. The characters were made for Tolus, but they were off-site in an island. Yeah. I just happened to have a lot of Tolus lore, so that's where I started.
Yeah.
Oh, that was awesome. Oh, go ahead, Al.
No, I was gonna say I imagine the players had a blast because again, I don't think did you mention to them beforehand that they would be playing within the new Cypher rule stuff, or was that sprung on them when they got to the table?
It was the day before, because we hit the point. It was Wednesday or Thursday, and he said, "Hey Monte, I'm running these 2 games for Cyphercon. Should I run that for current Cypher or the new Cypher?" He's like, "Go ahead and make it the new Cypher." And so I'm like, "Cool," and everyone's just like, "What?"
No, I was awesome. What? I was what, and a little jealous, first of all, because I'm not gonna freaking lie. If I would have known that, I would have rigged the system. I would have Sean, I made both. I don't know how it happened, but yeah, I was sponsored both raffles. Oh, funny thing about the raffle, Al, I know you was in our group chat when Sean was asking, "Oh, are we gonna fill these tables?" And I was like, "Trust me, we had 100 entries for the raffle within the first day, and we were gonna have. I was 100% confidence we were gonna have zero. It was gonna be zero chance that we weren't gonna fill the raffle tables."
I mean, I don't know. I could just be sitting there for 4 hours all by myself. It's like one tear going down my cheek.
Anthony was so worried about not enough people signing up. I was like, yo, there's no way, bro. There's literally no way.
Not even that. The first game, he had a full table waiting 30 minutes ahead of time. So I had to like message. I had to message Sean like, "Hey, yo, they're waiting here."
I was ready.
That was pretty funny.
That was
I remember that. We were
I'm
like,
a
wait
professional.
They're all
The only
sitting there
time
waiting.
the only time I've ever been late to a game, a convention game that I was running, was when I was in a car accident and passed out. And I was only 45 minutes late for that one.
Hey,
was like
still showing up is crazy. That's crazy.
He had one of those, a neck brace. Where you showed up.
No, but like I showed up. This was a PaizoCon, and I show up, and everyone's like, "Yeah, where the hell were you?" I'm like, "Sorry, I was in a car accident. I passed out while I was driving." And they're like, "And you're here now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine."
And you're here now. Oh man, that's a crazy story.
Chat just said, "AD, Dean is looking a lot different today." Dean lost a lot of weight, and he got skin bleaching.
Dude, he works out a lot more than I do. So.
First of all, we didn't even do this. I want to thank everyone that attended Cyphercon. I want to thank everyone that ran games for Cyphercon. I want to thank Monte Cook Games for sponsoring Cyphercon. This was the first year that me and Al, we wanted to make a conscious effort to pay everyone involved in Cyphercon. The first 3 Cyphercons were great, but we had to work with what we had, the little money we had to contribute to Cyphercon. Also, the kindness of strangers to provide everything for us. But this year, with Monte Cook Games sponsorship, it was so much easier. We got to pay all our mods. We got to pay for the art. We got to pay for the layout design, for the graphics. It was just such a wonderful, wonderful feeling to know that we got to pay everyone above minimum wage. It was such a great feeling. So I just want to thank everybody involved, and a special big thank to MCG for sponsoring us this year. It was phenomenal.
And a quick alley-oop on that, or I guess piggyback before we move on. I want to drop at least 2 named thank yous for 2 people who did a lot of work during the con, like not mods or we get our thanks, whatever. I'm talking about community members, and the 2 specifically I wanted to mention. There's a handful of others, but I'm blanking on names right now, so I'm only gonna name these 2. And one of them is in the chat, Starheart Dragon, MVP of the con. I don't know how many games they ran. Just thank you for that. And then we had a lot of people joining games like last minute that when we needed spots. And someone who did that a lot was someone named Snowy Spider. I believe that was her name. They're like, I don't think they're a regular. They might have just come to the server for this convention, but they filled in a lot of spots and like where we needed them. And again, everyone else who did that, I'm sorry I'm blanking on your names right now, but you guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
And if you want, we're going to get into logistics. Our initial goal, which was a lofty one, and we knew that, there was a high probability we weren't going to hit this mark, but we initially wanted to do 90 games over 3 days. And we wound up with 73 with 500 and I believe 84 players. So we got close to 90. Maybe next year we could actually do it. So, 73 still isn't bad. It isn't a bad run to get 73 games over 3 days.
Yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at. And I'm just going to jump in and say that I know from personal experience, I've run stuff at Gen Con. I worked at TSR when TSR was Gen Con. Running a convention is hard. Planning a convention is hard. And the fact that you guys got all of that is fantastic, and you deserve all the credit for it.
Thanks. So that means that Sean is coming on to run 5 games next year.
Maybe.
Sean.
I don't know. Are you gonna give me some free PDFs for that? I don't know.
Yeah. Didn't you run Cyphercon and had your regular games? So you literally had like 5 days of straight gaming where you were running for people, right?
Yeah, like in the past 2 weeks, I ran 8 games and played in 2 games.
What and were they all Cypher games, or did you have anything else?
No, I played in Monte's home game of Invisible Sun, which is our Electric Sun campaign, and I also ran my Invisible Sun home. But all the other ones were Cypher.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm a polygamerist. I play a ton of games, but running a ton of different games, you start to get rule sets confused in your head.
Yeah, and we do that all the time. But like we were doing our Cypher playtests, and Monte will say something like, "Make a reflex save." Wait, that's 4 games and 2 different editions ago.
When we had Monte on, last week for the AMA, and there was a lot of great questions that came up. And one of the questions that was asked was, and this is a good question to ask you because you're heavily involved in the playtest. Have you guys ever, with the new Cypher, have you guys ever changed the mechanic right after a playtest, saying either, hey, this isn't working, or this is going to work better if we do it this way?
Oh yeah, like a lot of the playtesting was about the wound system and how it works with armor. And my goal was, as a person who wanted to play a character who was a tank, it's like, all right, I'm going to break this. And we got halfway through a session. It's like, yeah, I can't hurt you. We need to change how this rule works. We just did a little pause and said, all right, well, we're going to change this. So instead of doing no damage, you're degrading the damage by 1 step. So yeah, so it happens all the time. Like, we usually have a good sense of how things are going to work, and then some crazy rolls in a wild encounter shows us a hole that we hadn't considered. And that's why we playtest.
Anything surprised you on your 2 Cyphercon games?
Yeah, so Key Bounce played a fire wizard, and this is more of a role-playing thing, but like he was the most non-aggressive fire wizard I've ever encountered. He's like, no, let's talk to these monsters. No, we're gonna get them on our side, blah, blah, blah. But in the first game, the monk character activated their ability to run really fast, and we realized, oh, your ability to run really fast lets you run up into a fight and then you can't attack. I need to put in a playtest comment that you should be able to run up and hit something once, at least. So thank you to the character, the person who played Runok in that adventure. Got a little playtesting feedback.
I think people mentioned Keybox. Keybox actually ran quite a few games on our server as well. He's definitely a regular.
Yeah, and real quick, since we're on the topic of playtesting, and I assume the answer is yes, but our community member Hot Dan in chat asked a little while ago, and this is a good time to bring it up though. So the new Cypher is at a point where you could playtest it? It's playtestable right now? Again,
yeah, the whole question, we have wrapped up the design on the player character book. It's going over to editing. Awesome. So when we hit the point where the crowdfund is done and we are ready to send out the early access stuff, that's the stuff we'll start with, is the entire player character book.
Also, you could tell us this. One, who came up with the idea, and what was the initial discussion like? Hey, let's revisit Cypher. Who was the first one to blurt it out?
Oh, it's Monte. I mean, he's the creative director, and he's the driving force behind this sort of thing. And around April of last year, he's like, all right, well, we're planning out the next crowdfund, the next one, but we need to start planning ahead and seeing what we can do to improve Cypher. Because, it's been about 5 years since we've done any sort of significant work on the Cypher core rules, and he already had some ideas. And so Bruce and Monte and I went on a road trip down to Oregon for a couple of days and just checked out some local sites and went on a hike and just talked game design in the car and at lunch and at dinner, and just this little walkabout talking about the new Cypher and come up with a bunch of wild ideas.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, everything seems very interesting, and we actually have 2 of the character sheets that we're gonna pull up because it has a lot of the new Cypher mechanics. But what was when you initially said, okay, we're gonna rework Cypher? What was the first mechanic or idea that came to your head? Is we definitely have to rework this and insert what this was?
I mean, so I am the main developer at MCG. And so I look at everyone else's stuff and realize, oh, you know what? This rule could be worded a little better, or it doesn't interface very well with this other thing. So a lot of it is just the opportunity to work on the language for stuff. And that is a kind of broad sort of answer because it affects everything. And some of it is stuff that like people run as house rules already, because that's how they think something is supposed to work, even though officially the rule isn't that way. And a lot of these changes that we're doing are things like, yeah, you know what? Everyone runs this way, and it doesn't hurt to run it that way, so let's just make it that way. 2 things in particular. One is in the new Cypher, you can take your recovery rolls in any order you like. I mean, we've had that as a house rule for a long time in our own games, and that's how Invisible Sun works. And now we're just like, yeah, let's just do that for everything. And
nice.
We hit the point where, like, you know how you're in a situation where you make a roll and you're hoping that you can hit the target number. It's like a desperate situation, and you fail. And you're like, oh, I had this thing that I could have applied, whether that's an asset or a special free level of effort or whatever. And if I thought to use that beforehand, I would have made it. And a lenient GM might say, okay, you can retroactively apply that. Well, what's one of the things that we're doing for subtle ciphers is that you can use them after the roll. That's just the normal rule now. Like, oh, you've got a subtle cipher that gives you 2 assets on a thing. You make your roll, and you're like, yeah, you know what? I've already made my roll. I know I got a 12, but I'm going to apply those 2 assets from that subtle cipher.
Nice.
It's there to make the game easier to run, easier to play. Makes it more fun.
I was going to ask you one more question. This has nothing to do with Cypher, but this was the first question I asked Monte, and he couldn't complete it. So I'm going to ask you. This has nothing to do with Cypher, though. He only got 3 3 answers in. My question to you is, who is on your Mount Rushmore of game designers?
Oh, someone asked me that in another context. Wow, and I can't remember. Oh, I wanted to be in a game with Dave Hargrave, who in the 80s wrote the Arduin supplements, which is just a weird kind of offshoot, kind of side thing of D&D. And it's just odd and weird. And given now that I work for MCG and our whole thing is like we make games that are kind of weird, it'd be really cool to see how he plays in the game.
You would still need 3 more, though. Mount Rushmore is 4.
Oh, well then let's put Michael Moorcock on there. The author of Elric.
Yeah.
And let's put Stephen Bruce, who writes all the Vlad Taltosh Dragera novels. He is a gamer. Like, his world started as a game world. I would love to game with him. I hung out with him at a convention one time, and he's really, really smart. And the 4th one, I would say, you might not get this name, but his name is Nigel Findlay. He was a TSR author in the mid-90s. He wrote a lot of Spelljammer material, and unfortunately he passed away at age 36 back then. But that was like right when I was getting into being a professional in the hobby. And I was just like, this guy is just some really cool author ideas. I was really into Spelljammer. And from what I hear, he was just an all-around good guy.
Oh, that's good. And you completed it. Next time I get Monte on him, we're like, hey, Sean completed it.
He's easily distracted. I mean, if you would look at our Slack, you would see so many channels of projects that Monte is working on, like passively, that will eventually become products.
Yeah.
Like The Darkest House was one, The Darkest Woods was one, Stealing Stories was one, but there's like much more that we haven't announced yet. He's just like, oh, I gotta get back to crazy idea. I gotta get back to this thing. So just gotta let him just breathe.
Someone actually asked Monte in the AMA, hey, what's your process? Do you work at one thing at a time? And Monte's response was basically, I'm working on like 19 things. I don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
I'm literally working on everything. I do not envy him. I'll tell you that much.
I mean,
Al,
so you bring that up, and I do want to say that and I think everybody at MCG really acknowledges that we are very lucky to be doing what we do for a living and very privileged to be doing what we do, and that we have people like yourself and everybody in the chat and everybody who follows our crowdfunds who like the work that we do and support us. Like, we literally couldn't do it without you. And I just want to say, on behalf of all of MCG, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And we hope to continue producing this stuff that you love so much. And it really fills our hearts that you are so excited about our little typey goblin games.
It's also a two-way street, though, Sean. MCG is one of the most I don't want to sound cheesy, but one of the most loving companies when it comes to their community. You guys support not only us, you support everyone in the community. You know, it's so hard to find a community and a company having such a tight bond. You guys are always there for everyone. Not only are you super talented designers that produce great product, you're also great to your fan base. And that shows. And that, you know, when a company has that sort of relationship, you breed loyalty within your fan base where people are going to ride or die with you to the end. And I feel like that's one thing that MCG has that separates you from a lot of other companies. A lot of other companies have talented designers and pull out great product, but also they don't have that connection with their fan base that your guys do.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're definitely. What is it? The presence of MCG is definitely felt like within the community, like especially when y'all periodically jump into the CU to talk about stuff. Like, I don't know how many other designers do that within their communities. You know what I mean? Like, but again, I'm not really part of too many other communities. You know, so
sometimes to Sean's detriment and his sanity, he jumps in the chat.
Bruh.
The community.
Bruh. That's so funny.
That's hilarious. Yeah, but even there's a lot of companies, right, that are super popular and put out great products, but don't have the loyal fan base, you know, that MCG has. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
Well, I think it's clear that we're doing something that we love, and we put that love and energy into the stuff that we make. Like, this is not just a paycheck for us. We do this because we love games and we love the stuff that we're writing about. And every now and then someone will, throw out an idea of like, oh, you should do a book like this or a book like that. And there's nobody at the company who's like super excited about that. And so we don't do it because we don't want to have a half-assed book that the designer doesn't really, really love.
And you've done so many different styles of games that sometimes goes unnoticed. You know, Stealing Stories, I still say is one of the best games I ever played. You know, and like, I wish there was more people playing it, to be honest.
Yeah.
That game is so kick-ass.
It's funny too, because one of the things we were working on for the new Cypher was a different sort of initiative system that Monte proposed, where, just to sum up, like, characters would take actions, and if you failed your action, then the GM would earn like a card, and then at some point the GM could just cash in their cards and be like, okay, now the monsters go. And it was interesting, a dynamic, and it kind of relates to another game that Monte was playtesting that we haven't released or talked about or anything like that. But in this playtest, we're like, yeah, this is interesting, but it doesn't feel like Cypher. And so we're like, okay, let's just take that out of this playtest. Not working for what the Cypher experience should be for some other game could totally work.
Oh, now I'm excited for that. You got to invite us to that playtest. So let's talk about Cypher now, because Cypher is, it's in everyone's mind. And we picked up about another, I think, 13 backers since we've been talking. It's now 45-37. 22 hours left to go. So Al, open up these two character sheets that open up one first, and let me know which one you open it so I can open it up as well.
So I have Eret up first, but we can do Eret or Lan. I guess it's up to Sean.
It's fine. Let's go alphabetical.
Alrighty.
Okay.
So it's up, and we can discuss it. I'm quick with it.
No, I was opening it up myself so I could see it.
So rather than me blathering on, I think you guys should look at it and go, "Oh, I have a question about this."
I'll start with that if that's what approach we're taking, right? Because I'm gonna approach this like someone who hasn't really read any of your materials about new Cypher. Like maybe I didn't read the Backerkit or whatever, right? So I'm looking at the sheet here. First thing that immediately pops to mind, or come to my vision, is the major wounds, the moderate wounds, the minor wounds, the wound system, right? And it's explained here. It says, last moderate wound hinders all tasks. Each major wound hinders all tasks. What does a minor wound do other than build up to a moderate wound? Or is that just
it? Does nothing. That's a great question. No, it's just there to be like, oh, you got nicks and scratches, and it's not really like bringing you down, but the cumulative effect of that will add up eventually. And it's kind of fun because, like I said, I was playing a very tanky sort of character, and what we've ended up with is that your armor will reduce your wounds by 1. We call those severities. And so a moderate wound becomes a minor wound, and you're like, oh, I've got 5 of those, that's fine. But after like 2 fights, you've taken, all of your minor wounds, and now your minor wounds are becoming moderate wounds. It's like, oh, I actually do need to stop and rest. Like 2 hard fights in a row is significant. But I can still be the character who's very tanky and shrugging off hit after hit after hit. It just adds up.
That makes sense. I do have a follow-up on that one, though,
okay.
just to clarify exactly how it works, because I do have, I do kind of want to run it on my own, like, because I'm a big solo play guy now, so this is going to be fun to solo play test. But with the minor wounds, when you hit the 5th one, does it reset down to 0, or does it stay at 5 and then each additional minor wound just becomes a moderate one after that?
The latter. Yeah, you keep those minor wounds until you get rid of them.
Cool. Okay, I dig that. Ah, nice.
Yeah. It's fairly easy to get rid of those minor wounds. Like you can rally. You can just spend an action and a couple of might points to get rid of a minor wound. Or you can use treatment, just like the heal skill or the surgery skill, depending on your genre. And that takes a minute, and it's a routine task. Or you can get rid of all of your minor wounds as part of a 10-minute or longer recovery roll. So you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to rest for 10 minutes, eat a sandwich, whatever, and you get up and all your minor wounds are gone.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess how to recover them is a great follow-up because I didn't even consider that. Yeah. So, yeah, awesome to hear that. Yeah, that seems like it makes a lot of sense, And I think people were saying they enjoyed the wound system. Like, what was the general, reaction when you... I know you said it a little bit earlier, but how did they enjoy this aspect specifically?
Yeah, so the wound system basically replaces A, damage to your pools, and B, the damage track. So there's no damage track for your character anymore. And the damage track was always kind of a blunt instrument because there's only 3 steps for it. And it always felt a little bit, as a GM, it felt a little bit like cheating to create a monster and say, oh, and this thing also moves you 1 step down the damage track because players don't have a lot of agency to stop that sort of thing. But now that we have the wound system, it's a lot more granular. You've got a stack of minor wounds, a stack of moderate wounds, and then a small stack of major wounds. And the player has a lot of things that they can do to block those or reduce those or get rid of those. And since all attacks go to that, everyone's like, yeah, this is where all my damage happens. And the cool thing is that your pools are separate from that. Like in our home playtest, one guy who joined our group, his name is Ethan, and he had never played Cypher before. And he was the first game, he was spending his pools down to 0 to use his abilities and use effort because there's no reason not to. He never had to worry, oh, I'm out of might. If somebody hits me really hard, I'm going to be spilling over to another kind of damage. Which is just amazing. First, we're like, yeah, that's what we wanted. But the fact that he just kind of knew I don't have to worry about damage to my pools wrecking my ability to do anything was a great advantage. And I think the players in my game also kind of came upon that experience. And when they got to the final encounter and they had a fight with this thing that was inflicting a major wound, they're like, oh, that's really serious. But fortunately, it was the tanky paladin character who was taking that. He had armor on, and so he was able to block it pretty well and reduce those major wounds to moderate wounds. And those moderate wounds do add up. But still, he's like, yeah, I can hit, if you consider a major wound to be something that would do like 8 points of damage or more, that whole fight, he took like 3 or 4 of those. And if you imagine, that's like 20, 24 might to 32 might or whatever it is. Like, no character could sustain that. But the fact that you have this wounds track now, you can actually hit characters a lot harder, and they don't feel so fragile, and they can still access all their abilities.
Sean, is it safe to say that looking at this sheet, right, we have 5, 5, and 3. Is it safe to say that that's going to be the standard for fantasy?
No, because I'm going to interrupt you. So Eric Fisk is a cleric. That's their type, and their focus tends to the wounded. Which one thing we've also a lot of the foci in CSR had very fancy names because they were imported directly from Numenera, and we've made changes to some focus names just so they are clearer about what they do, and so. That focus used to be works miracles, which is really sort of generic. And now it's like, no, you are the healing care. If you want to be the person who's healing other people, you'll take this one. And instead of having one ability at tier 1 and one ability at tier 2 and so on, you have a choice of abilities every time. And you start with 2. And so when I built this character, I wanted to have a different dynamic. So he's got the healing ability. But one of the character abilities that he chose is called Resilience. It's on the back of the character sheet, and that just gives him an extra minor wound. Because if you're the Healy Priest, just kind of a melee sort of character, you're going to be up there. Yeah, you can have that extra minor wound. But if you look at the other character, which I guess we'll get to in a bit, Land the Rogue is 5/4/3, and that's pretty standard for a fantasy character. Again, modified by type or focus, but 5/4/3 is pretty normal for a regular.
And it's safe to say as well that the different genres are all going to have different wounds, wound order, or are they going to be rather similar?
I mean, they'll be similar because there's not a genre where you start off with 7 minor wounds as a default, for example. But the core character, you get 3, 3, and 3. Okay. And there's a genre called the real world where you get less than 5/4/3, just because a real world character is more like, oh, I'm in a cop show or I'm in an action hero. So you're not getting hit by a sword 3 or 4 times and being fine. So there's different levels of it. But yeah, it does modify by genre your starting stats.
Oh, that's going to be so cool. I'm really excited to see how the rune system actually plays out. And you mentioned that you could recover rules in several ways. You could also recover rules a direct point cost from your might pool, correct?
Yes, so we call that rallying. And the idea is that there are like fast ways to remove a wound. And rallying is really, it's not so much, oh, that wound is going away. It's more of, oh, that wound wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Like, oh, it was just a scratch. I'm going to rub some dirt on it. I'm going to walk it off. I'm going to be fine. Just take an action, spend some might, and that wound goes away.
All right, so the last Cypher stretch goal was the player options book. So I'm thinking now, right, correct? Tell me if I'm making this up or I'm just too far down the hype train, that one of the reasons why this book is going to be important is that there was so many character foci that you weren't able to put in the original book that you now have another book to actually give us even more stuff.
Yeah, it's like because foci in particular have generally twice as many abilities as they do in the current CSR. And so we had initially said, all right, let's just go and take a look at all the foci in the CSR and see if we can come up with equivalents for those. And huge chapter is foci. And we looked at it and we're like, we can't actually put all of this in the book if we include this, because the book, I mean, we have some realistic limitations of, we had planned to charge X for the book, and that means it has to be a certain number of pages. And if we put more, 32 or 64 more pages in that, we will lose money on every copy of the book. So, okay, we have to cut that back. And it was actually Bear's idea to be like, well, we could just make an options book. And we're like, of course, player options book, additional options for various genres, some more descriptors, some more types, some more foci, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we can't help but write everything.
Yeah.
So,
and this question comes up a lot on the server. will we see some of the foci from the white books getting the new treatment as well in either the options book or the player's book?
There are some, just because there are some foci that when you look at them, you go from the CSR version, which has 8 abilities, and you want to fill it out so that there are at least 12, perhaps even 18 abilities, and you can see where there is, for example, in Godforsaken, there is the takes animal shapes focus, which is kind of like the druid who turns into anything. There's a similar version in Claim the Sky for superheroes. But one of the options for the druides focus, Speaks for the Land, is you deal with more plant stuff or you deal with more animal stuff. And so a lot of those abilities from Takes Animal Shapes ended up migrating over into Speaks for the Land. So it's not we're just picking up stuff from those white books and saying, here's the new version, but we're using the resources that we already made and then updating them to the new Cypher and making them part of a core element.
Makes sense.
Oh, that's cool. And I like that with the skill trees, like what you said, you could be the 2 different versions of the druid now. You actually have an option. Do I want to be a shape changer, or do I want to be a traditional caster druid, nature caster druid?
Yeah. And one of the things
pretty cool.
We often say, I think we certainly say this in Numenera, maybe not in the CSR, but we say only one character at the table should have a particular focus. That's no longer the case, because you can easily have 2 people with the same focus, and if they choose different abilities, they're going to be 2 very different sorts of characters.
Nice.
And real quick, we did have a question in the chat from someone that seems relevant right now, so I'm gonna ask it. It's from Adalisk, a community member. They said or asked, are there character connections by foci now, as in Numenera? Those were very cool and added a lot of flavor.
I agree. Those are very cool. They do take up a lot of space cumulatively. Just 4 lines for every focus adds up. So I don't believe those are going to be in the core player option books, the core player character book. But that might be something we add in one of the genre books, because that also the zines is what I mean. Is because that allows us to do a little bit of a deeper dive in that particular genre. So especially as those connections for Bears a Halo, Blazes with Fire is what we call Bears a Halo of Fire now for a non-Numenera context. Your character connections might be slightly different if you're playing a fantasy game than if you're playing a space opera game or a superhero sort of game. And it allows us to go and be a little more precise with those, and they don't have to be so broad and generic.
Since you brought up the zines, that's actually great. What's the difference between what's in the zine and what's going to be in the Cypher book?
I can't answer that because we haven't started writing them. So we're still deciding that. Some of that might be trying to. One of the reasons why we're making a player book and a GM book is so that all the stuff that the GM has to worry about, the players don't have to worry about, doesn't need to be in the player's book. The player's book can just focus on character creation and equipment and how you play the game, as opposed to how you run the game, how you build encounters, monster stats, artifact stats, that sort of thing. And the zines, one option for the zines that we're considering is this is everything you need for this specific genre. So even if your player doesn't have the player character book, you can say, here are your character options we're going to run a fantasy game. Here are the types and foci for fantasy. And that's all you have to worry about.
That makes sense.
But depending on the page count and how things go, that might shift a little bit. We haven't started. We literally just have wrapped up the core character book right now, and then Bruce is going to be working on The Strange, and Sean's going to be working on Predation, and I'm going to be working on Electric Sun, and so we're going to have a little break and then get back to working on the additional new Cypher stuff.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because that freaking blew my mind that Predation and The Strange are coming to this. I mean, I was hoping for the trifecta, but I'll take the 2. But to get Predation and The Strange, not only reworked, because I think those are 2 of the most beloved settings that MCG has ever done, but to have them come out with the new rule set at this moment as we get the new Cypher is so exciting. People, Predation, I was a huge fan of Predation, just to see Predation all over again, the companion rules, and the Strange to me was always like the precursor to the Cypher system, period, because it showed you that you could genre hop. And I know that Bruce, Bruce did a phenomenal job with the Strange the first time, and there's a ton of great products. I think the whole entire community is excited for both of those books.
Just a heads up.
Are you good?
By request of Jason, he said, I'm good with the sheet, so our faces are back on now. I was waiting for y'all to tell me to like switch it, so if we want to talk about land, I can pull it back up and look at land, but just a heads up, people are seeing us again. Hi.
I see how it is. Jason wants to see our beautiful faces. Are you going to do any work on Predation on the Strange, Sean?
I'm not sure. It's like I said, my next thing is writing Electric Sun, and I'm not sure off the top of my head how much time I have to be working on that. And Bruce is going to be writing The Strange. Sean's going to be writing Predation. At some point, that'll need to go into development, which will be me, because we don't develop our own stuff. We just pass it off to somebody else. So probably if I wrap up Electric Sun, I'll start working on development for either of those two other books. And who knows, maybe we'll switch around a bit. And like Shauna is already writing a little tiny bit of Electric Sun, just because she had a gap in her schedule. So she's helping me out with that, which I really appreciate. These books are so big, and there's only a limit to how much speed we can write things, that inevitably, to get things to come out on time, we need to have two authors work on something. Otherwise, like the last time we had everyone just writes one book, that was Bruce writing Stars Are Fire, me writing Stay Alive, Shauna writing We're All Mad Here, and then Monte writing Godforsaken, but then I also came on Godforsaken. And that's because we announced all four of those books at once, and we all just kind of went into our own separate design spaces to do this. But again, that was 4 or 5 years ago, and it's a different world now.
And Stay Alive is my favorite MCG book of all time.
As it should be.
That's my number one GOAT book.
We did get two great audience questions. One I don't know if you'll be able to answer, but the first one from Charlie, you should be able to answer. Our good community member there and friend Charlie, Bright Crazy Star in the chat. Will there be a categorical list of all the abilities to help make our own stuff, like in the CSR? That was so useful. So
that won't be in revise what I'm saying. We currently don't have that in the player book, because that's more of a GM tool. If we put something like that in the GM book, that's a question mark right now. We might have a list and an index of all those sort of things, but I don't think we would just reprint those alphabetically from the player book, because again, that would probably be 30 or 40 pages or more out of the GM book that is a repeat of content that you already have. But I could see having an index for that purpose.
Makes sense. And then the second question that you might not know the answer to, and this is from Subterranean Delve in the chat. This may have already been covered or spoken of, but will the online character builder include new and old options? Just wondering how it will work for those who are still using the old books versus those using the new books.
So I don't know for sure, because I'm not involved in the technology of that. But given that you can already set toggles for stuff that you can and can't allow, I would not be surprised if the intent is that you'd be able to say, I want to use 2019 Cypher, I want to use 2026 Cypher, I want to use both. And you just set the flags for what you want. That's not me promising that, but I think the system is set up that it can do that.
Will the new GM book have a sample adventure in it?
I don't know. We haven't started writing it yet.
Yeah. I know you usually the adventure guy, though. So
yeah, I mean, we have a lot of adventure material that is already available for free, either obviously on the MCG shop or through secret links. We might end up taking a lot of that stuff and just making it like a QR code in the books. Like there are 2 adventures in the Cypher System starter set that we could easily just turn into separate PDFs. And in the GM book, say, if you need a little quick fantasy adventure, here's one. You need a sci-fi adventure, here's one. Ashes of the Sea is the Numenera adventure, and that's a similar thing. So I don't know if we'd want to use space in the GM book for an adventure when we already have a lot of stuff that we could use that doesn't take up pages.
Or check this out. Or you could back at the everything level and get every PDF adventure MCG has produced currently on the Backerkit right now. If
That's
you back
true.
at the everything level, you get every PDF adventure they've ever put on their website on the store right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to do my promotional.
No, that's great. Yeah, and I mean, I forget often that we have books like 10 Years of Adventure, which is a bunch of adventures, and all the various instant adventure books. Like, we have a lot of adventure content that's out there, and pick up those PDFs.
Speaking of the starter set, I ran both those adventures on the server. We had a blast.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been almost a year since that came out. I've been meaning to go through the starter set page by page and talk about why I made certain decisions, because I saw your look at it and your review of it, and I was like, oh, there's a reason for that. And you're like, why is this way? And how come there's no percentile tables? And I'm like, well, there's no D10. I deliberately made this. You didn't need a D10 in this. But thank you. I like the starter set, and I think it's still worth revisiting for that.
And offline, you was an all-star for me because I couldn't find the maps anywhere online, and I contacted you. You got them for me for both my games.
I was hand editing those maps in Photoshop for you, so that you would have a version of the maps without the map tags, like the room numbers on them. I'm like, all right, let me just clone this for.
I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. Yeah, it went great. Someone's saying the all-in level. Yeah, the all-in level is crazy right now. Like, I know, and you can pay in installments, but if you don't have the money, you can still back at a later date and then come back, after the Backerkit is over and still adjust your pledge, because the value you getting for everything right now is bonkers. Like, you essentially getting 5 times your money retail value for all the stuff you're getting.
Yeah. If there's something I could ever tell a person who's new to MCG when they look at one of our crowd funds and they look at those top levels and they go, do I really want to get that? Like, the one thing I would tell them is that is already a good value. It will eventually become a great value.
Yeah, I mean, this is quickly becoming the first Invisible Sun Kickstarter value. Because that was like 7 times the amount of money you put in. This is quickly getting to that. If we get this next stretch goal, you're looking at spending. You're looking at spending, if we're doing it in USD, you look at spending, $300 USD and getting $800 or $900 worth of value for your $300 investment, which is ridiculous.
And whatever the minimum threshold is that Backerkit is it like $150 that, like, once you hit that point, they let you pay in 4 installments, which is really cool.
Yeah, which is crazy.
I just like Backerkit because they're innovative.
Yeah.
Real quick, thanks, Mike, for the sub. 50 months. Jeez, man. That's crazy. And then Jason had 60 months earlier, but thank you guys so much for the sub. But someone in the chat made me think of this. Alex said, yes, I'm planning to share my PDFs of existing stuff to share the Cypher joy. Because something that MCG has been telling us, or telling people, is that if you're getting PDFs that you already own, you're more than welcome to share them with other people, right? They'll handle that situation for you. I wonder how hard it would be to set up kind of like a repository, so to speak, on the website where people who want to give in their PDFs will submit their codes, and then people who want to redeem, need the PDFs, kind of like in I forget what, I think it's itch.io, they have like community copies, so to speak. So with the extra PDFs, we'd be supplying the community copies. And I mean, just thinking out loud here, I don't know how feasible that is, but just made me think of it.
That's an interesting idea. So I don't use Facebook for anything now except for my local Buy Nothing group. And people are like, hey, I've got a bed frame I'm getting rid of. Like, I've got a fridge I'm getting rid of. And so, like, that's great. Like, I don't need this thing, pass it out. I think that's a great idea. And I will mention it to Charles, see what we can do.
And we did we can also...
Oh, what?
Okay. No, I was going to say, we can also talk... We could also talk to Tammy and Kate about possibly taking some of that load off of them and maybe doing a little bit of that back end work on the CU.
But what I was gonna say was, Jason Shadowman in chat said, or can we donate the PDFs to schools and libraries? I'm assuming if not anything I mentioned about a community chest type deal, but if there's an individual at the library with an email address, I'm assuming MTG can hook them up just as easily as any other individual. So I'm assuming yes.
It sounds reasonable.
I mean, ultimately, as long as they have a Monte Cook Games account, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to donate it to. Because all you need is a Monte Cook Games account, an email connected to a Monte Cook Games account.
Would be cool. Cool idea, Jason. No, I'm not expecting to be like, whoa, you can give it to your friends, but nah, not the libraries. Do not give anything to the library. Like, I can't imagine it.
Well, so right now, the Backerkit is currently at 45.51, guys. We're moving along. I have faith, and it's at $831,482. We still want to hit that million goal, so come on, let's rally the troops. So, Sean, I know your guys have been paying attention to this. You know, I've been watching this Backerkit every 10 minutes for the last 2 days. What are you most excited about on the stretch goals?
Well, the character options book is great because that's a lot of content that we had started and now we get to finish. And as a designer, as a writer, it's always kind of a little heartbreaking to have to cut something out that you were really excited about. And I have entire books that, back in my Wizards days got trimmed down or canceled, and just material that never ended up seeing the light of day. And so the fact that we don't have to parcel that out in products over the next 2 years, we can just be like, no, here's all the other stuff that we wanted you to see. That is really, really awesome. And given that so much of it is about presenting the core Cypher experience with all of these different genres, we don't have to shortchange any of those genres. Now all of that content will be available. I think that's the one stretch goal that I'm most excited about personally. I'm excited on behalf of Shauna that she gets to work on Predation again, and Bruce that he gets to work on The Strange again. And I know they're very excited about it too.
Monte touched on this one a little bit, but can you tell us a little more of the divination deck? Because that seems really cool.
Yeah, so we have various iterations of things like this in other products. The Invisible Sun has the Sooth deck, which is like a tarot deck, and that it has a story roll and a numerical roll and that sort of thing. And Devil's Dandy Dogs has the Fate deck, where you can have different aspects of how it affects a story, how it affects an NPC, that sort of thing. And so Monte said, let's just do something like that for the Cypher system. And so it'll have a topic on it, and like an idea. It's like, oh, I need an idea for how this encounter should go. I need a twist for this encounter. And it'll be like, oh, it's unexpected threat or mysterious benefactor, that sort of thing. But it also has random cipher and random game effects on it. So if you're we like doing decks just because they're really, really handy. I know a lot of people don't even try them, but I use the weird deck in my Invisible Sun game all the time. Yeah. One of my players plays a Goetic, and he's like, all right, I summon an angel, what does it look like? And I just grab the weird deck and I pick some random card, and it's some weird character, and I say, oh yeah, and I just put a little angelic twist on it, and there you go. But the fact that randomization is there, and the fact that we, the designers, come up with all these ideas and then put them into your hands, so you can just I'm stuck. Oh, now I've got this idea that's from Sean, Monte, Bruce, Shauna, etc. That's really handy. You can just make it a twist, and your kind of game progresses with that. In the Cypher System starter set, we have the XP cards, and on the back, I put little reminders to the GM saying, oh, hey, this might be a good time to do a GM intrusion. Or remember that players can remind the players that they can use effort. These decks are tools not only for the narrative of the story, but for making the game easier to play and easier to run.
I know me as a solo player. Oh, no, just me as a solo player. And I know there's a growing group of us in the Cypher community. anytime there's a new deck or something, like, it's amazing. Because, again, Solo plays a lot about randomization, and a deck just makes that super easy. Instead of rolling dice and looking at a table, you're just pulling a card. Well, it's amazing. It's so good, and I'm very excited to see what that deck has in store.
Is a lot of the material on the deck, are they going to be stuff from the weird, or are you writing a bunch of new stuff?
I'm pretty sure. So Shauna's the lead on that, and I'm pretty sure she's just coming up with stuff from scratch. Like, she's looking at the new Cypher material for inspiration, but she's writing stuff for it. She's not just copying.
I'm excited. The Weird is such an awesome book.
Yeah, and so God, the Weird was so hard to write, though, because, like, if you look, it's like, oh, I have to create 100 weird ass ideas on a particular topic. And I got to the point where I have a link to weird words from the dictionary, and so I just hit random, give me 20 random weird words, and I would look those up, and those would be inspiration for that sort of thing. Building the weird tables is one thing, and then you have the weird deck, and the weird deck is actually its own thing. It's not just material from the weird tables. Like, a lot of them are similar, but I was the one to put the deck together, and so there's always a twist. Like, one of the weird things for characters, like weird NPC, is this person has, magical wooden legs. Well, I took that idea, and for the weird deck is, their legs are a magical broom and they can fly. So it's like similar sort of concept, but like still entirely unique, different thing. Like, you could have stuff built from the weird book and the weird deck. And so again, we like to do that sort of thing where it's not repeating content. We'd like to have unique content.
I actually used the Weird for my Cyphercon adventure. I made a artifact spell book called Oddly. It was Mormon's oddly situational spells, and I took six stuff from the Weird. So it was like the most random thing you could possibly imagine. It was hilarious. There's
that reminds me.
Uses for the Weird.
So that reminds me, so we don't have the character sheet for the mage character that I ran handy, but the mage character type, one of their abilities is they can just pick a cipher as their spell.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so just be like, I know this spell, this is my spell, I can cast it, blah, blah, blah. And so we just wanted to have the character who kind of has the flexibility of a D&D wizard where they're choosing different spells every day. So that's one of their options. That's a fun thing we did.
Oh, this is a good question then by you bringing it in. Out of all the genres that you're working on in the new Cypher, what do you feel you've had to do the most tweaking for?
Superheroes. Yeah, just because the baseline superhero is like a cut above your baseline fantasy character or your baseline sci-fi character. Like, if you're talking about someone like Daredevil or Batman, they're simply better than your starting fantasy cipher or your starting sci-fi cipher. And that's not just power shifts. So they're just better as characters. They can take more wounds. They got better stats. And so we had to come up with an entirely separate ranking system for superheroes. And all of the types in the superheroes chapter have a rank from 1 to 5. And it's like rank 1 is crime fighter, like you're Daredevil or whatever. And rank 5 is living god, like you are Thor. You have 15, 20 more points in your pools, you have more power shifts, you have more wound boxes, blah, 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 blah. And so because Thor as a starting character needs to be more powerful than Batman as a starting.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, how are we going to do this for superheroes? But it turns out really, really fun. Like, Bruce and I made a couple of characters each, and then Monte put us through some playtests, and we realized, the fact that superheroes like Superman, if you give him a really high bonus to block, well, if you hit him with a machine gun, he's still taking minor wounds. That doesn't make sense. All right, so we need to go and make a rank 3 ability that superheroes can take that is just like, you don't take minor wounds.
And you know what's funny is that Cypher handled supers phenomenally, and now you're adding all this extra layer of depth to the actual genre itself. It might actually be the best RPG superhero system, because supers is one of the genres that everyone kind of universally agrees Cypher handles well.
Yeah.
So it's really encouraging to hear that you're making it better. So,
yeah, we really like how it turned out.
Oh, I'm super excited for that.
And I think, so if you look at Gunslinger Knights, characters in Gunslinger Knights are already a little better than regular Cypher characters. Like, they get their magic gun that does more damage, they get a motorcycle that does stuff. Their characters are simply better. And once we accepted that, yeah, you know what? In Cypher system, some starting characters can be better in certain genres. We just embrace that. So supers, you're better. And that's why also the real, like, there's the core character, which is I'm just a regular schmo. And then there's the real world character who's like doing, the action hero sort of stuff. And then there's wild fantasy and post-apocalyptic and space opera. Like, there's different levels. And then there's superheroes. And we just are accepting that, yeah, you know what? Let's just put that in the core book so the GM doesn't have to go, why does this character not feel as cool as the Marvel character? And now it can be.
If there's one thing that you want to tell our audience about Cypher before we log off, we got an hour in here. We don't want to take all your time. If there's one thing that we haven't touched on or discussed, what is it you want to tell our audience that are watching the stream now or someone watching this later on YouTube?
So I hope you understand, and again, this is something that we're talking to people who love the current version of Cypher, that we love the current version of Cypher too. And we're not making these changes just because. We're making them because we want the game to be better. We're making changes to away from damage track and pool damage to wounds to make playing the characters better. We're making changes to how ciphers work to make that better for players and for GMs. And we're doing all this because we love the game. And if you're hesitant about these changes, well, two things. One, you can still keep using the current version of Cypher, even if you never use a new one. Two, you can use the two of them together in the same way that you can have a character who's built with the Numenera rules, and a character who's built with the Strange rules, and a character built with the CSR. They all work together. They're all fundamentally built the same. But the fourth point is that give it a chance. Because when Monte said, I want to make changes to how characters take damage, I want to shift away from pools, I want to have characters start taking wounds, I was not on board. I'm like, I think this is a change that isn't necessary. I think the pool damage works fine, ABC. And then I played it, and we play tested it, and it just clicked how much better this is in terms of selling the game to, and I don't mean selling in terms of purchasing, but I mean convincing someone to try the game. There are a lot of people who are like, I don't want to try Cypher because the idea of spending my hit points to activate my abilities is weird. Well, now it doesn't do that anymore. And wounds just give you so much more options as a player for dealing with your damage. It gives you a lot more options as a GM for having creatures inflict damage and threats do damage. And it gives you a lot more options as a game designer on how creatures and player characters interact with the damage rules. And so it's just opened up all these new opportunities for all three, people who interact with the rules, players, GMs, and designers. And so just try it out. Give it a try. And by now, at the end of the crowdfund, we have blurted all these details. You can pretty much replicate it at home and try it out.
Yes, I'm quite excited. I'm quite excited to do just that in a solo game. I just got to find the energy to actually sit down and do some solo play, but that's a whole nother story.
All right, guys, we 300 backers away from the next stretch goal, and we only have 21 hours to do this. So if you're on the fence, like Sean said, now is the perfect time to get into Cypher system. One, you're getting into the rule changes, so you're gonna learn to play the game along with everyone else. All the rule changes. So this is the perfect time to grab a group. And if you don't have a group, we have 7,000 people that'll help you on the Cypher Unlimited Discord server if you want to run a game or play a game. So, this is the perfect time to get into the ground floor. And like we said already, you essentially could get every MCG Cypher system related product at the back, everything. And I'm talking everything. literally everything for Cypher System in PDF right now. If you go back it, like you're walking away with like 60 PDFs plus all the new material. It's sort of a no-brainer, you know. And I can almost promise this: you're gonna love the Cypher System as much as we all do. And if not, we'll run it for you and make you love it. But yeah, go check it out. Go check out the Backerkit. I can't stress it enough. We want as many people playing Cypher System as we possibly can. Not only are they great designers, but they're just a phenomenal, great company. They all wonderful human beings, and they deserve our love and support. Al, you gonna say anything?
Before we wrap up, can I just shotgun these last few questions from the chat that have kind of stacked up?
Oh, sure.
I'll just read them off and on. Starheart Dragon, is there a genre not covered in the Cypher Present or Cypher Evolved you'd love to explore? Yeah, I've been watching a lot of historical shows recently, and I think it'd be really cool to have a book that just talks about, here's a bunch of historical genres, whether that's you're playing there full time or you're doing some time travel and jumping back into that. I think that'd be really, really fun. Like jump back to the Roaring Twenties or, the Civil War era, that sort of thing. That'd be really, really sweet. Bright Crazy Star, do you still use XP for advancements? Yes. Is it more codified that what you can do with advancement XP? Yes. So we talked about that in the player book. We'll have more advice about that in the GM book, but definitely. There's also resource points that are kind of a side effect of advancement that do other things that are like, oh, I want to build a robot, or I have a significant thing that I need to do that's like a downtime material. That's what it's there for that. I don't know anything about Foundry because I'm just a little typey game designer. And we have so many things here. A lot of people chatting. Oh, okay. I guess that's it.
Yep. I think that was about it.
Cool. Well, thank you for letting me.
No. We got to answer as many of these questions because if not, they're gonna, get the pitchforks on us on the server. Hey, you didn't ask my question, so you're actually doing us a bigger favor than you realize. I know Al has to get out of here, pick up his husband from work. So if you like us and you like what we do, join the Cypher Unlimited Discord server for all things Monte Cook games. We have the largest fan-run Discord server for everything MCG. But if Discord's not for you, join our Facebook group. Not as big as our Discord, but still great conversations being had there daily. If you want to support us financially in any way, you could give us a little donation on Ko-fi. And it helps us out with little things like running Cyphercon, our online convention. Or go to our online store and pick up some cool Cypher Unlimited merch like this shirt I got on and this hat I got on. And the Cyphercon shirts are still available right now. So if you haven't picked one up, you still have time left to do that as well. You can give us a subscription here on Twitch or follow us on Twitch or go to Anywhere Door on Moonbeam and follow us there as well. Or go to our YouTube channel and like, share, and subscribe, and put a comment in the comment section on the YouTube videos. It helps us out tremendously with the algorithm. We're still trying to build up all 3 platforms, so any help you could give us in that direction, it'll be greatly appreciated. Like I said earlier, the Cypher Backerkit is still going on strong. We only have, I believe, 21 hours left. So please, please, please go check it out. Even if you're on the fence, there's nothing to lose to go check it out, see what they have to offer. And I guarantee you're going to see that there's more than enough bang for your buck for your investment there. Am I missing anything, Al?
Nope, I think you hit all the major points. Just a quick correction. Not my husband. I'll be picking up my girlfriend at work. One of two, but yes. They get out, and they work now, and they get out, and I gotta go rush over as soon as we quit here. So thank you so much, Sean, for coming on and talking with us.
One last thing.
Yep.
One last thing. Last but not least, we love you guys.
Yep. We love you guys. Thank you so much. I told Mike to link it in the chat, link it in the chat. But Mike is also our Golden One, big time supporter, is starting to sell role-playing game books. He's doing a Whatnot show, I believe. Told him to link it. I don't have the link handy, but go check that out if you can. But yeah, you can hit up Stormbringer Mike for the link for that if you'd like it. But yes, thank you everyone in the chat for coming by, chatting about Cypher. Thank you, Sean, and Cyphercon Thank you, Sean, for coming and talking to us more about Cypher. I'm definitely very interested to see how these wounds and armor new stuff play out in my solo play sessions. I'll definitely keep y'all, informed on my progress. If I do sit down to play, it's a big if. But yes, thank you again so much. And again, thank you, everyone. And from us at the CU, we will see you later. Peace.